You're listening to Real Talk Texas with local expert Steve Hakes. Now, here's Steve.
Welcome back. You're listening to Real Talk Texas, and we're here today with two of our experts. We've got Garry Graham of Affiliated Bank. He's our banking expert, and we have Geni Manning. Geni's our real estate expert today, and we'd like to talk to Geni a little bit about the Dallas-Fort Worth real estate market and the Texas market in general. What's been happening? And in the national news, we hear a lot about that values haven't come back, and we have a lot of situations still out there in the marketplace. And it's a lot of negative news, I think, you hear about the housing recession and things that are happening there. And I do believe that, some of our lending laws here in Texas have helped us to keep from going into as large of a dip in the values and what's happening in foreclosures and things like that here in Texas. So I wanted to talk to Geni just a little bit about, what's happening here in the Dallas-Fort Worth market. She's our expert in real estate. So, Geni.
Well, from 2010 to 2011, the prices only went down 2%. We don't have the figures yet for 2012, but they are definitely up. Foreclosures seem to be, a big topic, and all the buyers seem to want to have them. But in North Texas, the home foreclosures have dropped. The filings in North Texas are down 14% from last October. And the biggest declines are in Tarrant and Collin counties. And where October postings are down 19% from a year ago. So foreclosure filings are down 10% in Dallas County and 8% in Denton County.
When we talk about foreclosures, obviously from a lending standpoint, we don't like that. But one of the things that I see in the real estate market today is a lot of people, when they're thinking about buying a home, a lot of people will tell you, you make money on a house when you make the purchase, especially in Texas, because our values don't skyrocket like they do in the sand states of California, Florida, and Arizona.
Right.
And so we have more of a stable market. I think you see if your house goes up about 5% a year, it used to be the trend, you were doing really well in Texas. It's very different than in California. And so one of the things I think, when you're talking to someone who's calling and wanting to buy a house, do you get a lot of questions about, hey, I want to get a great deal on a house, I want to get foreclosed property or a short sale or something like that? Is that what you're hearing?
Yes, all the time. And I just have to explain to them that they're not necessarily getting a good deal just because it's a foreclosure or a short sale, because the foreclosures are getting so many contracts and they're bidding up. And they're getting close to market value. And the disadvantage of buying a foreclosure is you don't get to have an option period and do inspections. And most of the houses that are foreclosures, there is something wrong with them. That's why they didn't sell. So, in my opinion, homes that aren't foreclosures or short sales are really a better buy if you're wanting a really nice house.
That's a really good point. I mean, one of the things I'll tell you is that, when we're dealing from a lending standpoint, when someone's buying a short sale or they're buying a foreclosure, it seems like a much more difficult transaction because you've got the courts involved, you've got another bank that wants to get paid by a certain date, and sometimes, they won't agree to extensions if you need an extension, and it's a little more cumbersome for the buyer, even though they may feel, and that's interesting. I didn't really realize. I always felt I'm probably the average consumer out there that thinks, hey, if I can buy a foreclosure, my he's 30 years old almost, and he's getting ready to buy a house, and he's scanning the internet for deals, because he's heard his dad say you make your money on the buy. So,
right.
And so that's interesting that you really aren't getting as great of a deal in most cases on a foreclosure.
It's not, and you really, for the most part, have to. That's why investors usually buy foreclosures, because you have to have money to fix them up, because there is usually, like I said, things wrong with the home. And a lot of people these days don't have extra money to do the repairs that's necessary.
And last week on our show, we actually had Selman Home Inspections come in, and they started talking about all the things they find and when someone does that. I didn't know that when you're buying a foreclosure that you don't really have the opportunity to have an inspector come in and give you the heads up on all the things that can be seen in there, as far as the things that might be wrong with the house. That makes me a little uncomfortable about buying a foreclosure.
Mm-hmm.
So what's happening outside of foreclosure? What do you see happening? Is it a buyer's market or is it a seller's market today in a Metroplex?
It's a seller's market.
Really?
I'm so excited. Yes, and most people still think it's a buyer's market, but really the houses are selling. The days on market are lower. We're getting multiple contracts on homes, so it's a seller's market.
That's pretty incredible. I mean, we sold our house in May of this year, and we did. And I'm a lender, so I'm thinking that I'm not a real estate expert like yourself. And it was actually to one of my past clients that needed a specific type of home. Their father was moving back into our house, to their home, and they needed 2 bedrooms down and 2 bedrooms up. And we were empty nesters, and my wife and I were working downtown Dallas. We were trying to figure out what to do. And, I've done 3 or 4 loans for these customers. And so I told my wife, hey, somebody's coming over to look at our house. And so when they came over and looked, and they made us an offer, and next thing we knew, we did a contingency sale. So we were contingent upon the sale of their house. So in our minds, we did a contract in May, and we thought, okay, well, we have till probably September. We'll find another place by then or figure out what we want to do. And I really wanted that high-rise downtown, and she really wanted the Colleyville, suburb house. So we still haven't met in the middle. We live in Irving right now, so halfway in between. But, what surprised me was I got a call from those people 2 weeks later, and they were big remodelers. And so they had their house on the market. This was in Grapevine. They had their house on the market. They put it on the market on a Monday. And on Tuesday, they had 3 full price offers. Yes. This was last May, before the summer selling season happened. And I couldn't believe it. I thought to myself, well, maybe they didn't price it right. But I looked, and they were priced in the market. But they had fixed up their house so nicely that, 3 full price offers, that sounds to me like it's a seller's market.
If it's cute and clean, it's going to sell quick. I have a long list of homes I've sold within 30 days over list price.
Really?
And that's only because I've got multiple contracts.
Wow. Then it's a seller's market, right?
Yeah. Well, you got to have a good marketing plan too. But
that's right, and that's why you try to get hooked up with somebody like a Geni Manning Team at Keller Williams, because part of selling your house is not just putting your home on an MLS. You've got to have a plan behind it to get the news out about that home.
Absolutely.
And tell the story for the seller. So one of the things if you're listening right now, you're listening to Real Talk Texas on AM 570 KLIF. And this is Steve Hakes, your host. And today in the studio, I've got Garry Graham of Affiliated Bank, and I have Geni Manning of the Geni Manning Team, Keller Williams Real Estate. And Jenny's our real estate expert, and she has a huge team of people that are. We talked during the break about that. With a team concept, there's a lot of different realtor teams out there, and I always wondered why a top agent would have a team, or why do we see all these, husband-wife teams, or a team of a bunch of listing agents or selling agents that all work together? Tell me about team concept in real estate.
Well, every team is different. It only takes 2 people to be a team, but you can get as big as you want. But the benefits of a team is why I have my team is because I have so much business I can't take care of it all. And instead of turning people away, I just keep adding agents, which I need more agents right now. So if anybody out there is looking to be on a team with unlimited buyer leads or seller leads, please call me. But our particular team, all specialize. And I believe in having credentials and education to back what you specialize in. So we have buyer's agents that specialize in only leases, if that's what you're doing right now. Of course, we don't think you should be leasing with the interest rate so low.
Me either.
And then we have specialists that specialize in high-rises and condos, luxury home specialist, buyer specialists that only do new construction, and then we have first-time home buyers, farm and ranch specialists, and then those agents that still are working the foreclosure and short sale market. And then the senior and retirement communities have gotten really big. So we have specialists that do that.
So it sounds like you're the real estate expert, and then you have experts within the Geni Manning team and that specialize in. If I called you, your team, or went to your website, which is GeniManning.com, that's GENI Manning.com, and I try to contact you, and I say I'm a senior and I'm looking for my retirement home or place, you have a specialist or an expert within your team.
Yes.
That would really help me. That's awesome. I don't think I've heard that concept out there before. So when we come back from the break, we're gonna bring Garry back into the conversation and talk a little bit about how the mortgage industry is highly regulated, and what Garry's come up with as far as offering in the Metroplex and Make Sense Mortgage from Affiliated Bank. And if you want more information about that, you can contact me directly at realtalktexas.com, or you can call me anytime off the air at 214-643-6021. That's 214-643-6021. So stay tuned.